Hey, what's going on? This is Scott Chase. Welcome to another edition of our Radio Ranchcast, our weekly podcast. That it's an audio video, as you can see, and hear, that we put up on the web at case106.com under the Rock Pod page, and talk about people that have done stuff with us here at the radio station, friends we've had for a long time. Kelly McCoy joins me for each one of these. Of course, we've been there at 821 Pineville Road for a few years together, haven't we?
Well, except for the past year, we haven't been there, but yes.
Yeah, not so much the past year, kind of in and out. Hey, at a distance,
Yeah.
even more than 6 feet, actually, most of the time. But yeah, and another guy that we've known for, I don't know, let's bring him in here. Michael Alfano is our guest for the Radio Ranchcast today. How are you doing? Are you from Chattanooga, by the way? Are you from here?
Oh, no, I moved here in 85. I'm originally from Jersey.
Are you really?
Yeah, 85. Started working, part-time some of the local stations, and then got a full-time gig at DEF, being Luther's boss for 2.5 years.
How was that? How was Luther? I bet he was fun.
Nobody's Luther's boss or was Luther's boss. You just basically asked them to conform to whatever the GM and the home office wanted them to do, and just made them as comfortable as possible. It was fun. So actually one of the men I respected most, and still do have a high respect for him in this town. He was outstanding. People don't know how good he really was, even off mic.
He did a bunch behind the scenes, didn't he, to help people out and never asked for anything in return.
No.
Strong guy. I didn't know you moved here the same year that I moved here. I didn't realize that until just now. Isn't that something? Yeah. We learn something every day. Maybe we talked about it, but maybe I'd had a couple of beers at your place. No, I don't know.
I think we talked about the same year. We've talked about you started working there and PDing a year or so before I got the club, because we took the club over in late 87. So you had already established yourself there with Ron Newberg.
Yeah.
Danny and Chuck. And, I started doing a little bit of advertising. Actually, one of my first, one of my salespeople, and I want to tell everybody there that I'm sorry about the dog. Sorry.
It's all good.
Anyway, I was saying I'm sorry about the loss of Randy Ross. He was a great friend as well, and a big help with me, my media.
Well, I appreciate that, man. He was close. We were close, man. He's my best friend for a lot of years, and it's been a very emotional couple of weeks. He's a good guy. He's been away from Chattanooga for a long period of time, but he started a few of your shows there at the Comedy Catch the early days when he was in programming, then went into sales and helped you out in that regard too. Yeah, we've all had a great history with ORRE. We'll miss him. One of those people that made the world a better place to be, that's for sure.
Where was he? Up in Tri-Cities or Bristol or somewhere?
He was in Knoxville, had been in Knoxville for about 20 years, but had left Chattanooga and was at Johnson City for a couple of years before he went to Knoxville. So he's been gone, darn near 25 years. Hard to believe, but true. Yeah, Randy Ross, good guy, without a doubt, man. I remember going to a few shows with Randy Ross at your place. Now, you took over the Comedy Catch after it had moved from the Holiday Inn Golden Gateway. It had already moved to Ken Sons and
Les McCurdy.
That's right.
He's got his own club down in Sarasota now, McCurdy's Comedy Theater Institute or something like that. Basically McCurdy's, it's called. They were actually, Ken Sons was really the technical owner. Les helped him manage it, but he had financial backing from a couple of local people. I'll say their names. Van Jernigan, who's a hell of a guy. His dad was a great artist. And Dr. Bill Meadows, who owned Physicians Care, and still, I think he sold it recently and probably made millions of dollars selling Physicians Care, but he still works for them as a consultant. But those were the money. Ken and Les were the show, and they started at the hotel by basically doing what a lot of comedy clubs do. You say, hey, we'll put on a show, we keep the door, you get the food and beverage. And right. That worked up there. It was actually a nice setup. I was there several times. It was a good setup. And then they decided, we can do this on our own, and got the place on Brainerd Road, which before that was 1040 Teen Club or something. and before that it was called the Sports Stadium. And they made a go of it for about a year and a half. They both realized they kind of wanted to get back on the road, and I think they also, some of their money wanted to pull out. I think at that time, Dr. Meadows wanted to pull his money out and start the Physicians Care. So, they put it on the market, and we stumbled into it. Basically, I was in radio at the time at DEF, and my mom and dad had owned bars my whole life. So I'm a bar stool baby, as they say.
So that's how it started. I didn't realize that. Yeah. How about, so you went right from radio and went right into the comedy club business. That's crazy.
Actually, it was interesting because at that time, and there's a general manager there who didn't like me much, Jones Fuqua. Never forget it. He didn't like me at all. He didn't like what I was doing, and he was one of these guys, and I say this, it's always a mistake. They come in here and say, you got to do it the way we did it in, I think he was from Colorado. You got to do it the way we did it in Colorado. You got to do it the way we did it in Atlanta. You got to do it. No. And I said this even about my nightclub and other nightclubs. This is Chattanooga. We're not Atlanta. We're not Nashville. We're not Colorado Springs or wherever the heck he was from. This is Chattanooga. And actually, I had to be a buffer between Luther and Jones Fuqua and protect him, because he thought the opposite of what I just told you a little while ago. He thought that he can tell Luther what to do and exactly how to do it. And I said, it's not going to work like that. And I was only here a couple of years, but I got the gist of Luther. And, he didn't use control, but he did have control. He had, he was his own boss, even though he was paid by the company. But anyway, Jones Fuqua and I didn't get along. At that time, general sales manager Barbara Hyde wanted to protect me and keep me on staff because she thought he was going to fire me, which happens a lot in radio. And so I went into sales for probably 3 or 4 months. I hated every minute of it. I could not close whatsoever. So we were actually running the club, and I was still in sales at the radio, doing sales during the day and running the club at night. And then that just, that went head to head. I had to say I need to focus on making this club successful, which will make me more money than I'm making in sales. So there was 2 years there after I left DEF, and Barbara kind of agreed with me. She goes, yeah, you're not selling crap anyway. Yeah, she couldn't protect me from that. I mean, those are numbers. You either have the numbers or you don't. And, for like 2 years, Cheryl and I, my ex-wife, we were broke. I mean, we were operating hand to mouth, week to week, just barely surviving. And, that first year, we figured it out. The second year, we broke even. And then the third year, we started making a profit, and we've been pretty much profitable every year after the 3 years. So I always tell people, when you start a business, first year, figure it out. Second year, set yourself up to possibly make money. Third year, hopefully you'll make the money.
Do you remember the first act that you booked?
I'm sorry?
You remember the first act that you booked into the Comedy Catch?
Yes, I do. One of my dearest friends, a mentor in the business, and I lost him a couple of years ago, was Ron Schock, from originally from Houston, Texas. Do you remember Ron?
I do.
Oh, man, I still go on YouTube and watch some of his videos. The best storyteller, great guy. He taught me a lot about the business. He was one of my dearest friends in the business. Flew out to Vegas. He taught me how to play poker. Just so many things and so many stories, even stories that he didn't even tell on stage. He was one character and one great guy. He died of pancreatic cancer the year before. I also lost one of my other biggest friends in the business, which was Tim Wilson. That was, I lost, not a sob story, but I lost my father. A year later, I lost Ron Schock. A year later, I lost Tim Wilson. I was like, those three, and as I said, Luther were probably the four men who influenced me the most as a young 20-something to where I was when they passed. And then, obviously, I'm not sure how many years ago Luther passed, but losing Luther was really big. I wasn't close with Luther in the way that some other people are, but when I was in radio with him, we would go to do a lot of lunches and sales pitches and everything. And even thereafter, whenever I visited the radio station for the comedy catch, he was I can't say I was special because he was like that to everybody, but he always treated me well, gave me a lot of respect, and I'm getting choked up about missing those guys right now.
Oh man, I get it. I've had a couple of weeks of that right now, but it's a part of. Man, I tell you, was Tim Wilson and Killer Bees? They got the business about the same time, I guess. Right about the same time? Yeah.
Yeah, they all started right around 1980. James Gregory came in a little bit at the same time out of Atlanta, but Bees still trucking along. He's still doing it. James is still doing it. James is getting a little bit slower, but in his physicalness, but he's still doing it. Killer Bees is still doing it. And they started around 1980. I didn't get into it till 87. So they were already established at that time. And funny thing you mentioned that Ron Schock was my first act. Killer Bees was a feature act the second week I had the club. He wasn't even headlining yet, but you could see that wasn't going to take long. I mean, he was blowing headliners out of the water, as we say. But it was fun working with him. He had a big mullet at that time, tight hair down here, and a big mullet. I still have the photo of him, his promo photo with that mullet, and I hold it over his head now and then.
I'll tell you what, some of our favorite times, Kelly McCoy and I doing mornings on KZ when we did it is when you guys would come in on Thursday morning and you brought, man, the parade of great comedians that you brought to 821 Pineville Road is just pretty extraordinary, isn't it, Kelly?
Yes. And I have to agree, Tim Wilson to this day remains probably my favorite. He was funny. He could tell stories like crazy, but he was so incredibly intelligent that even once the mics were off and we were just talking during the records while he was in the booth, the depth of his intelligence just blew me away. And what a sweet, super guy.
He was one of the smartest men, if not the smartest man I've ever met.
Yep.
You can talk religion, history, music, comedy. He knew all the facts. You can mention a song from 1960 something that didn't even make it past top 50 on the charts, and he knew who played backup guitar and who played keyboards, what studio it was recorded at. He had a photographic memory.
Yes.
And, there was somebody had a great line at his funeral. I want to say it was Chris DePet, his manager, said Jehovah's Witnesses knocked on Tim Wilson's door. It's like, yo, come on in. after 2 hours, hey man, we gotta go. I haven't even gotten through Genesis yet.
Oh.
Man, you had Seinfeld. You booked Seinfeld though at the club, didn't you? I mean,
no, that was before I took over. That was late that was the first year they moved into the new building.
Okay.
It wasn't their grand opening act, but it was within the first couple of months. That was 85. I still have the contract in a file. He worked for $3,500 for 7 shows.
Wow.
People come a long way.
So what is an up and comer that you watch the whole? You mentioned a couple of them here. There's got to be more than that that just got going, and you thought, man, they're going to go somewhere, and they did, and maybe others that you thought are going to go somewhere, and they did.
Well, there's a lot that I really thought would take off, and they were either self-destructive or they didn't pay their dues properly. See, Tim and I'm not taking anything away from Tim because he was hard-headed, but Tim could have been a much bigger star if he played the LA game or the New York game, but he would not. Jeff Foxworthy did it. Now he will not. Jeff won't do anything, very little, I should say, unless it's in Atlanta. He's still dabbling here and there, but Jeff went Hollywood, made $1 billion, went really big. Tim didn't, because they were partners at one time. They were writing partners, musical partners, and they wrote several things together that at one point became a little bit of a negative impact between their relationship, because unfortunately Jeff wanted the rights to everything, and Tim fought him on a lot of things. The biggest one was the Redneck 12 Days of Christmas. That was a big dispute over that, because Jeff Foxworthy's people were saying anything with the word redneck he had the rights to.
Oh, really?
That is a verbatim. I don't know exactly, but that's how it came down from Tim. And Tim fought it, and I believe Jeff finally let him have that song. It was like he threw him a bone. That's the way I saw it. I'm not sure exactly how factual everything is, but that's how I remember it going down. That Jeff finally said, "Go ahead and take the one song." So that was interesting.
You deal with any of the other blue collar comedy guys?
Well, I haven't in a while. I mean, we worked Larry the Cable Guy coming up before he hooked up with the Blue Collar Tour. And Ron White, the old story with Ron White was he was a two-time a year regular that we used to play golf with every time he came in, several times. And then Ron and I had a dispute. He was, believe it or not, a heavy drinker.
No.
One night we played golf, and we had been drinking all day playing golf, but he didn't stop, and he came in and kept drinking on stage. In the late show, lady down front was talking. It was, I was trying to control it, but he took a wine bucket and just tipped it over in her lap. Everybody was pissed at him because they knew he was drunk. Everybody in the showroom got up and left.
Wow.
You want to talk about somebody panicking? We got all these checks open, and everybody in the audience is just walking out. So I couldn't work Ron for a while, and he then disappeared. He actually, in that run, he did some really bad things in Texas. Basically fooled around with a waitress and told everybody about it from stage. And little did he know that waitress would soon be managing several big clubs in Texas area. And she got him blackballed. So when he got blackballed, he went to Mexico, and I believe he was making pottery.
No, he was. No, really?
Yes, he was making pottery. And Jeff Foxworthy reached out to him and said, "Listen, I'm putting this together. If you can keep your act together and stay straight, I think you'd be a big part of it." And, they got Engvall, and then they got Larry the Cable Guy. They put it all together. And in the meantime, from pottery to blue collar, his manager gave me a call and said, "Listen, Ron needs to work out. He's got some big things going on. He wants to bury the hatchet and come back and work out." I said, "Well, it's been a long time. We both are hard-headed about it. I don't have a problem. Let's just not talk about it. Let's let it go. I just can't have any more problems like that. I can't have any incidents like that." Because no, he's on his best behavior. He's really coming back. So I booked him for 2 times that year. I can't remember the year. I'm horrible with years. So I booked him 2 times. For $3,000. He came in the first one, killed it. He was perfect. Everything was wonderful, funny. He was back on his A game. Between that booking and the second booking, which we had on the books, they started touring in the blue collar, and he took off and was making $50,000 a night. But he honored that second booking at $3,000 just out of being, a good man. We had a contract. He could have definitely gotten out of it, because there's always a clause in the contract that says if I get a Vegas gig, a TV show or something, I can cancel within 30 days. But he honored it. He came back for like $3,500, even though he was making tons of money, with Jeff. And to this day, I'm thankful for that. Then a couple of years later, he was writing You Can't Fix Stupid. And one of his writers, Dave Miller, lives over there by the flight park. He's a pilot for the hang gliders. And Ron, his people called me up and said, Ron wants to come in and do 2 shows on Valentine's Day. You can only charge $20, and he gets a certain percentage, whatever the percentage was. And I said, well, I'd love to do it. And so he pulls in the back there in this big old bus, comes in, and we wound up doing 4 shows in 2 nights. And he was bringing the bus back and forth from Atlanta. And, at the end of that, we were on this bus smoking cigars, drinking scotch. And he, got the cigar in his mouth, pulls out, gives me $500. He goes, here, tip the staff. So, Ron's really got a big heart. He's just, got a lot of demons. But that, I think a lot of comics have demons, and that's why they're comics.
Every comic I've ever met that deals with you or has dealt with you says, man, Michael Alfano, best club owner and operator that I've ever dealt with. I mean, why do you think they say that? What is it that you do that makes that you go that extra mile to make them feel comfortable?
There's a couple of things, and there's several people in the business who don't believe that, by the way. I had a problem with the comic this week. I'll tell you that in a moment after I answer this question. The question is, the answer is I just treat people the way I want to be treated. If you come in and you're a butthole, and I'll name a few, one of them was Tracy Morgan, biggest butthole in the business ever. I wanted to give people their money back after the show, but I couldn't because he was taking it all. I gave everybody free passes to come back to the show. He was a racist. I can't say he was a racist, but he acted racist. He was mean. He was nasty. Even I brought him over at Channel 3 to do interviews. He treated them like crap. He treated everybody like crap. So I, in turn, had to treat him like crap. I mean, I just don't stand for it. He was treating my staff, my media people, everybody like crap. And I just put him in the closet. I said, stay here, go on stage, do your act, then go back to your hotel. Don't talk to anybody. Don't do anything. He was one of the biggest buttholes. And I don't know how I get off on this another one. I guess I just want people to know that not what you see is what they really are. Brett Butler. You remember Brett Butler?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She was horrible. Oh, my God. So mean. She had just lost her sitcom and was, I think, trying to recover from alcoholism. But, she was mean, nasty. So there's a few other names out there. The comic this week, a year ago, got drunk on stage, and I fired him. He begged me to let him back. I let him back, and this week he cuts his show like 10 minutes short, the last 2 shows, and you just can't do that to the staff. They're out there trying to collect tabs and everything, and he says, all right, good night, and we're not done. It just made us look so unprofessional. So I had to talk to him, and he won't be back either. It's a shame. He's one of the funniest people in the business, but again, self-sabotaging to the point where if this guy had his head together, had a good team around him, he could be a mega star. But the demons and devils get to you. Anyway, the answer is I treat people the way they treat me, and I always give them the benefit of the doubt. TJ Miller's coming in a few weeks, and he was one of the biggest surprises to me of people who I did not think we would become such good friends. I mean, he's a major star, and he came in. He loves Chattanooga. He talks about us all the time, Chattanooga. He came in February of 19 and loved it so much, said, I want to come back. I'm going to bring my family, and came back in like March, 2 months later. He actually came back to celebrate his birthday here in Chattanooga. But one of the nicest guys. And, when they come in, especially the big stars, I'm just very cordial and professional with them. And it depends upon, how they react to me and how I react to them. We either hit it off, we either just get the job done, or we have a problem. Another name, which is funny, who he treats people like crap, but he's like somehow has turned into one of my best buddies, Pauly Shore. He's turned into be one of my best buds in the business. He treats everyone else. He's actually matured quite a bit.
He has. First time I met Pauly Shore, I thought the same thing. I thought, man, you jerk. But then the next time around, it was like 15 years later. It was a long time. In between times, we're out in the parking lot at 821 Pine Mill Road, and I sat there and talked to him for 25 minutes. And I thought, man, what a nice guy you are. What happened to you? But yeah, you're right. He turned a corner somewhere along the way.
He had a big head and attitude, and he had those movies, and then he didn't have a movie contract anymore, so he had a big chip on his shoulder. Also, there was a period there where his mom, Mitzi Shore, was very sick, and he was her caregiver, believe it or not. I don't know how he found it in himself, but he was the one who was looking after her the most. There's a great documentary on Showtime called The Comedy Store, which gives you a peek into what the Comedy Store is and what it was, how it got to be where it is, and how his mom, Mitzi Shore, was an outstanding club owner, manager of acts. She was a lot tougher on the comics than I am, though. But it was actually produced by Pauly Shore, and it's excellent. I just watched it a couple of weeks ago, and it's produced well. It tells the story well, and it shows Pauly in a much more mature, responsible position, and the person he is when he's not on stage.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But anyway, I treat people the way they treat me. Most of us get along. A lot of it also is that Chattanooga's a cool town. We make our club very easy to work. We make it very comfortable. It's not glass and brass and showy, and it is really modeled after some of the New York comedy clubs. So it's got a good comedy feel, as opposed to a theater, or as I call some of these glass and brass places that have all these backdrops and all this fancy stuff. I mean, we got a microphone and a brick wall. Go up there and tell jokes.
Hey, it's amazing how many comedians, though, make the transition and become big movie stars. I mean, it happens, and it's been not brief. I mean, for 50, 60, 70, it's been happening for a long time. What do you attribute that to? I wonder how do they make that jump from a stage with a microphone to all that goes into making a motion picture?
It's really being at the right time, at the right place, and those places are New York and LA. I mean, you very rarely find somebody from Atlanta discovered. You may have some urban acts out of Atlanta that have been discovered and make it big, but even some of the smaller cities. Denver is one of the hottest comedy cities for many years. Some of those comics, they don't really make it big till they go to LA, and that's what the Comedy Store documentary is about how many people started there. I mean, their first time on stage was there, and 5-6 years later, they have a sitcom, they have a movie, or multiple movies and all kinds of deals. So, right place, right time. You got to be funny. Obviously, there were some that have made it that were not funny. Pauly Shore was not funny. He was just very charismatic and at the right time, at the right place. And his mom, owned the Comedy Store, and all those directors, producers, and talent agents, everybody, knew him as a kid. So his big leap to face was when they put him to work on MTV. He just was made for MTV, and then of course led to all those movies. But right time, right place, some talent, good team around you, management, and it does happen a lot. A lot of people break out and become major stars. I don't think Jeff Foxworthy made it really big until he had his books, and then his books brought his attention to the big agents on the coasts, basically LA, and the rest is history for him. Ron White, I have to give all credit to Jeff Foxworthy for Ron White. Larry the Cable Guy was getting big on his own anyway, but Jeff brought him in, and Bill Engvall. I mean, Jeff made all of their careers as big as they are. They already were successful and funny, but Jeff just brought them to new levels.
Hey, the show them to me guy. Show them to me. Yeah, what's his name? Huh?
All right, Scott. That's Rodney Carrington.
Yes, I could not think of his dadgum name for a second. Interesting story about Rodney Carrington that I'll share with you. I mean, he used to come to the radio station all the time. You had him in all the time. And then he grew and he got bigger, and he was here in the Tivoli or whatever. And I ended up seeing him and going backstage with him at one of his shows in later years after he got going. And he walked in and talked about a guy that was totally gracious and appreciative for what Kelly and I had done with him, putting him on the radio with us over the years. He goes, man, I will never forget what you did for my career on KZ106, you and Kelly McCoy. In the morning, I thought, man, how nice.
Yeah.
Just, he's all about that, isn't he?
Yeah, and he was one that every time he came, we played golf. And I guess now's as good a time as ever to surprise you and the audience and make an announcement. Tomorrow at 12 noon, tickets for him performing back at the Comedy Catch are going to go on sale.
Oh my gosh! Wow! It's like I've got ESP almost.
Yeah, when you said that, the light bulb went off on my head. He's going to be here April 9 and 10 for 4 shows, 2 shows each night. If they sell out, we'll have April 8. They're not online yet. The only place people will be able to get them is online. They're going to be a little expensive, but he was expensive at the Tivoli and the Memorial. I mean, he was selling those theaters out. Tickets are going to be $50 down front, $40 for third row back. We'll add Thursday if he sells out those 4 shows. But a lot of guys just are not working, and they need to get back on stage to sharpen the saw, so to speak. And his people called me. We signed the contract a couple of days ago. Building the web page as we speak to put the tickets on sale. So they can check thecomedycatch.com or Facebook. I'm going to make them live. It might even be before 12 tomorrow, but just they want to just keep their eyes out. They'll be available. And Rodney is one of the best. Again, one of those guys where you saw it. Now, he did it on his own. He really was very sharp. He was a good marketer. He had a good team around himself, but really a very humble, great guy. And he's coming back. I mean, when they sell out theaters and then they think of your club, it's not completely selfless. Let me say that. He needs to get on stage. He needs to make a little bit of money. The theaters aren't opening. He needs to stay in touch with his audience. And, for him to think of my club, which I'm only going to have 130 seats because of the restrictions, put in with COVID. So he's going to be playing such an intimate crowd. Every show is only going to have 130 people. It's going to be like a living room show. And he's not going to be able to meet and greet or merch or anything like that. But he'll come, as we've been doing with a lot of guys. They're coming straight from their hotel room, walking on stage, walking right off stage and going right back to their hotel room, basically because of social distancing.
Sure, man. Well, I hope KZ106 can be part of that show. I'm throwing it out there.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. I got to get it up and going and see what happens. But you're always welcome to be a part of anything we do. I mean, you guys have been there since day one for even Ken and Les. I mean, they started it over there with you, and after I took over, nothing but an open door, and have been wonderful to me and taught me a lot about radio and media, and have helped me pack out a lot of shows. So, we'll talk about however you want to get involved.
Absolutely. So how do you like it at the Choo Choo? I bet you love it, don't you?
Yeah, it was a lifeline. I don't think we'd have made it to this year. I know we definitely would not have made it through the pandemic on Brainerd Road, but I don't know that business-wise, excuse me, we would have made it to 2019 without the move. I mean, Brainerd had its history, but it wasn't what it once was. We were kind of uncomfortable there. John Kinsey and Adam Kinsey and I, how this story goes, if you want me to ramble about this, we were fighting the fire sprinkler issue with city council, where we were grandfathered in that we did not have to install fire sprinklers, but then for some reason they got a bug up their butt about that Rhode Island bar. I can't think of the name of it, where a lot of people died, the whole bar burnt down, and said, well, we're going to take the grandfather clause away because of something like this. Well, that was the perfect storm of idiocy. You know, packed place, doors locked, phone, speaker, sound barriers, and flames on stage. You know, I brought up to the city council, not one person ever in the state of Tennessee has died in a fire in a restaurant and a bar. But we, me, John Kinsey, a couple other bar restaurant owners, fought it the first time and we lost. So we were grandfathered in, but we didn't have to have them in till a certain date. Well, between the first loss and the date of installation, the city council changed, and John Kinsey brought it back to them, and we actually won the second time. They voted that we were grandfathered in. We did not have to put the fire sprinklers in, and it would have cost me in Brainerd. It would have cost me $68,000, and there's no way I could do it. So John Kinsey and I were going to city council meetings, and he said, I want to show you something. We went down to the choo-choo and we were walking around. He originally wanted me to go into the Centennial Theater, which is the theater part of the convention center over there. I said, John, I can't. This has a slanted floor. I have to serve food. And we just walked around the complex and everything else. And I think he already had an idea that he wanted to do something. Essentially, they wanted to, and it's still true, they wanted to cut their hotel rooms and get out of the food and beverage business. So we walked around. I said, you know, Station Street at the time was an alley. It was basically for delivery trucks and garbage disposals. And I said, you know, man, this could really be something. This could be the Beale Street of Chattanooga. And then we went around the front, the train platforms. I said, couldn't you see this? You know, it's already covered, lit up, and, you know, people coming and going in different restaurants and bars in here. And him and Adam were, you know, looking at each other and talking. About three months later, I got a call from John. He goes, come on down to my office. I want to show you something. There lie the plans for the new choo-choo and Station Street. It's probably 90% of what it is now. I mean, there's some things that didn't get done. The city knocked some things down. But I said, John, I was still at Brainerd at the time. I said, now, you know, this is our baby. We talked about this. You gotta cut me a deal and let me have one of these spaces. I mean, don't price it out of my market. And lo and behold, I did not know this, but he brought me a proposal to take over the station house. I thought the station house would be a part of it and be just another place in the mix of an entertainment complex. But he wanted out of food and beverage business, which he owned, the station house, the Choo Choo Partners, and said, you know, what about this space? I said, well, you know, you price it right, we're going to make a deal. And so we did. We made a deal. I sold the Brainerd building after we moved in. But the first year we were there, Station Street wasn't done. We had moved in and retrofit the station house to become up to date and the showroom and the restaurant that it is now. But until Station Street opened and my patio and the backstage bar were able to survive, that was the big explosion for us. When Station Street opened, people had a way in, a way out, they had a place to hang out. Then Stir opened. Dwayne Carlio moved Reagan's Place and Westbound Bar across the street from Backstage Bar. Songbirds came over. It was actually Revelry Room at the time. That's when Adam and Monica had it. So we had a good little vibe going there, and it's still going right now. It's just on pause. So yeah, that was the best move we made since buying the place, hands down. And we have 5 more years left on our lease. If we can make it through this, I think things will come back. Never be back like it was. I don't think a lot of our world will be like it was, but we're just going to have to adapt.
Yeah, you're probably right.
So, Michael, how have you adapted with the pandemic? With the obviously you guys were dark for a while. Now you've got limited shows. What precautions have you taken? What's the experience like at the Comedy Catch?
Well, we're doing doing what the health department suggests. We have hand sanitizer. We're sanitizing like crazy. Everybody. Well, that's not even my dog this time.
No. She's been going crazy the whole time.
We hand sanitize, masks, gloves in the kitchen, anything that touches a plate, wearing gloves. We move our tables 6 feet apart, which cut me from 230 down to 130 seats. Social distancing, we really stay on the mask thing. I mean, people sometimes just get lazy and forget, and some people are just ornery about it. But, keep saying mask up, put a mask on. Now, Backstage Bar, it's a little bit harder because it's got an outside patio. So we try and, get them to mask up. Oh, we're outside, this, that, and the other thing. So, we're just trying hard. The other thing would be, we went from 6 shows a week down to 4, to 2 Friday and 2 Saturday. And quite frankly, that's about all the community is supporting. People are still, at least the demographic for the Comedy Catch showroom, people are still, staying home, social distancing. So, excuse me. It's, we're just doing what we got to do and listening to the health department, listening to our audience. I mean, our audience, I just can't present shows without an audience. So we just make them feel safe. And again, I can't present the amount of shows I used to. The other thing that is helping us a little bit are situations like the Rodney Carrington booking, where I'm getting some bigger names back because they don't have theaters to perform in, and I am operational. In addition, let me just throw out a couple of plugs if you don't mind. I got Rodney Carrington April 9 and 10. I also have, we were talking about TJ Miller, who is one of my dear friends. He's coming back this month. I'm looking at my calendar now because they kind of all run together. He's coming back the 23rd and 24th, and his requirements are really strict. He wants 2 fans on the stage. He wants tables 10 feet apart, and so I'm gonna have a smaller audience for him. But after TJ Miller, I had a booking a year ago that just kept getting postponed, and that's Christopher Titus. Christopher had his own TV show and is a monster in the business. So we postponed him 3 times, but he's confirmed that he'll definitely be here. He's coming in March 26 and 27. And then another guy who basically started not at my club, but was a feature act, and then went through the roof. The Hemi guy, John Reed, is coming back too. So those big names are helping us stay relevant, helping us, fill the showroom up even at 50% capacity. So answer your question, health department guidelines, listening to the audience, social distancing, masks, trying our best to make everybody feel comfortable and safe. It's not perfect. It's not ideal all the time, but we try.
You're a good man. You're a good man. Who are the up and comers, man? We've talked about some of the classic guys that have been around for a long time. I'm sure we missed a handful of big names that people had no idea that probably played here in Chattanooga at the Comedy Catch. But what's a handful of the ones that you feel like are really going to go somewhere now?
Well, It's going to take them a while now because LA and New York are shut down worse than everywhere else. So it's going to take them a while to build that momentum again. But one is his name is Dale Jones. Dale's one of the funniest people in the business. I call him the comedy tornado. Just outstanding. Also, another kid out of Atlanta. He's in his 30s. His name is Landry. I'm looking at my schedule who I've had this year that I really love. Another name. He's already been big, but I don't know if you know him. He's extremely clean. He had his own theater up in Pigeon Forge. His name is Jeff Allen. And Jeff is a monster and he's not a Christian comic, but he can perform in churches. Jeff's out of Nashville. He's coming back later on in the year as well. Dale Jones and Landry are the two that I would put money on. They're going to make it through and to a different level. Just funny, genuine, good people, and they have good people around them to keep them on the straight and narrow. So there's other names that I think are going to be really big, but those are two that are in the forefront of my mind right now.
Cool. Well, thank you for spending time with us. Kevin West coined a little phrase on one of our department head meetings, I don't know, several weeks ago. He said, "Man, our motto for this year has got to be kick up the fun in 2021." So that's what we're all about. So there's really not a better place in Chattanooga to have a better time than at your spot. And who couldn't use a good belly laugh right about now?
Amen.
You know what I'm saying?
I think that's one of the things people are finding comfort in is, they can come there. We try and make them feel as safe as possible. They know they're going to have a good time. I mean, in my 33, 34 years, I think I've had 4 bombs, and I mentioned 2 of them, Brett Butler and Tracy Morgan, and then 2 other guys that were no names and probably are working at Home Depot now anyway. But of all those years, there's only been 4 shows that I was not proud of. Every other show I'm pretty darn proud of. Now, that's excluding, someone's going to hate me for saying that. That's excluding some of the open mics. I really get nervous around open mics because a lot of them are beginners, a lot of them are mavericks, and I don't necessarily like their attitude or their delivery. So my daughter, who's actually one of my managers and now a partner, takes care of that for me. She's cultivating new talent through the open mic system, and we have a showcase show that we're doing twice a month. What are we calling it? My daughter's on charge of it so much. I forget. It's What's Coming or something like that. She showcases 4 or 5 comics that are not quite open micers, but not quite there yet. And funny thing is, I don't even take up more of your time. We're getting comics from throughout the country. There's an article about Jeff Greenspan that are moving down here, North Carolina and Chattanooga and Nashville, because their livelihood is gone. New York, the comedy scene's never going to be the same, and there's still no stage time. So I've got like 4 or 5 New York comics that are living here now that are going up on a regular basis that are very funny, and they add a little bit of a different twist to it. There's a couple of guys from California that have been regulars lately. So the comedy scene is changing, and to give credit to a lot of the other bars in town, these comics come into town and they could perform almost every night of the week somewhere. I mean, there are a lot of what we call open mic shows in bars. It's not, mass appeal, mainstream comedy theater, but it is a place to get on stage and work your material. So, the comics that are coming here throughout the country are finding stage time and good stage time. And, they're getting more time on stage in Chattanooga than they did when they were in New York and New York was operational. So they've discovered the gem in the South and Chattanooga, but not just us. I mean, like I said, North Carolina, Charlotte's got a good base there too. Nashville, Atlanta's kind of tricky right now. They're hit and miss, but so the comics are coming to us because we were thankful to open. So I got off on that tangent there, but I just wanted to tell people, yeah, you need a laugh, come on out. We're going to give you a good show. We're going to try and keep you safe as possible. And I do know you'll get your money's worth.
I know we will. Well, buddy, great to see you as
Yes.
always, and glad to be able to call you a friend. You're a good man, and you run a great business. And Chattanooga is lucky to have not only a guy like you, but a wonderful spot like the Comedy Catch. So thank you for your time.
I want to thank you for inviting me, for your support throughout the years. I also have to give credit to my daughter Danielle and ex-wife Cheryl. It's not just me. I'm the front man. Cheryl is the money person, and Danielle is the liaison between me and some of these young kids. Bridging that gap, because the older I get, the more disenfranchised I get, and the more disconnected. So I want to give them credit too.
You're not going to be one of those get off my lawn guys, are you? Yeah, you
I'm
are.
pretty much there.
Kelly McCoy, great to see you. Thank you,
Yes.
my friend. Michael, take care.
Take care, Michael.
Rodney Carrington coming to town with KZ106. Get him over to the radio station if you can. Or get him on one of these with us, okay?
Okay.
Sounds good. All right.
Thank you,
That's our
guys.
Radio Ranchcast today. Have a great one, Clint. Thank you.
Thank you.